Are you worried that hiring the wrong mental health speaker could actually do more harm than good for your college students? Because if you don't know how to vet a speaker on the nuances of suicide, self-harm, and recent campus tragedies, you could be inviting someone who triggers more pain than they heal. As a mental health speaker for college students, one of the biggest questions I get is, how do we know this speaker is safe to talk about the hard stuff? And I get it, I've seen it go wrong so many times. I've seen speakers completely misreading the energy in a room when a student has recently died by suicide, or give simplistic advice that just makes anxiety worse. But the right speaker, they don't just motivate. They read the room, they align with your crisis team, they know exactly how to discuss suicide without increasing risk. Today, I'm breaking down the 5 questions you have to get answers to before you hire a college mental health speaker. We'll cover what to look for, how to test their ability to connect, the exact topics they need to address, and most critically, how they should handle difficult topics to keep your campus safe. I've also included a link in the description to learn more about my college mental health presentations. Be sure to check it out before you make your next call. If you want to protect your students and hire a speaker who actually gets it, keep watching. This is the difference between a good talk and a safe one. Welcome back. I'm Mike Veny, and I've been awarded Acquisition International's Global Excellence Award and the Leader of Mental Health Awareness by NAMI New York State. And I believe that I've earned those awards, not because I talk about mental health, but because I make sure it's done thoughtfully, intentionally, and safely, especially on college campuses. In this video, we're not just making a list of speakers, we're building your entire vetting framework. By the end, you'll know exactly how to spot a speaker who can handle the weight of these conversations without causing harm. So let's get into the first question. So number 1, the first thing you have to ask is, what are we really looking for? The answer has to be more than just a good story or a dose of motivation. For a college campus, especially one that might be in a vulnerable state, you're looking for a mix of 3 things: credentials, relevant experience, and verifiable safety training. Let's break that down. Lived experience is powerful, no question. A speaker who has navigated their own mental health journey, such as myself, can build incredible trust. But lived experience alone isn't enough. You're not just hiring a storyteller, you're inviting someone into a very fragile ecosystem. A great speaker can point to both their personal story and their professional qualifications. So what does that actually look like? Green flags are speakers who mention evidence-informed training, like QPR, which stands for Question, Persuade, and Refer, or ASSIST, which is Applied Suicide Intervention Skills Training. These programs are designed to help people recognize the warning signs of a crisis and safely get someone help. While not every great speaker will have these specific certifications, seeing them shows a commitment to safety that goes beyond public speaking skills. A red flag? A speaker who dismisses the need for training like this and relies only on the power of their inspirational story. Next, you have to vet their experience with the college demographic. This generation of college students faces a unique set of pressures. A speaker whose entire background is in corporate wellness might deliver a talk that feels completely dated or irrelevant to your students. A great speaker will talk about their work with other universities and show they understand the specific stressors of academic life and the digital pressures students face nowadays. A bad answer is one that just lumps all young people together without getting the specific context of higher education. I once saw a well-meaning speaker, I'm not going to name any names here, hired for a campus event tell a room full of students to just unplug for a week. They had no idea that for many students, their laptops are their lifeline for assignments, work-study jobs, and their only connection to family. The advice wasn't malicious, it was just ignorant. It fell completely flat and alienated half the room. Here's your action item. Ask for a speaker's safety plan. A prepared speaker will have a protocol for how they handle a student in distress, how they partner with your on-campus counseling services, and how they make sure their message aligns with safety guidelines. Credentials get them on the stage, but do they exactly connect with students? That's our next question. So number 2, once their qualifications check out, you have to ask, but will they actually connect? The most polished credentialed speaker in the world is going to fail if they can't build a bridge to the students in that room. Connection comes down to 3 things: authenticity, student involvement, and the ability to read the room. First, authenticity. Today's students have a, how can I put this, finely tuned radar for performance. They crave a genuine connection, not a flawless TED Talk. The best speakers aren't afraid to be human. They might admit to being nervous or share a story where they didn't have it all figured out. That vulnerability doesn't undercut their authority, it actually enhances it. A green flag is a speaker whose demo video shows them interacting with students in a real, unscripted way. A red flag, a speaker whose every video is slickly produced monologue with no audience in sight. The best way to guarantee connection is to involve students in the process before you even book the speaker. A speaker who genuinely wants to connect will welcome this. A great answer from a speaker sounds like, "I'd love that. Can we set up a 15-minute Zoom call with a few of your student leaders so I can hear what's on their minds?" That will help me tailor my message. A bad answer sounds like, "I have a set program that I've worked with dozens of schools and used it successfully with." That person is selling a product, not a partnership. This leads to the final piece, reading the room. A campus that's processing a tragedy has a unique emotional atmosphere. A speaker can't just barrel through a pre-planned script. They need the emotional intelligence to sense when the room is tense, when it's emotional, and when it needs a moment of lightness. I once saw a speaker pause their talk after a heavy moment and just say, "Let's all take a deep breath together. In for 4, out for 4. It was a tiny, unplanned moment that showed they were more attuned to the people in front of them than the words on their teleprompter. So here's what to do. Request a brief pre-booking Q&A session between the speaker and a small group of students. If the speaker can't handle a raw, honest question from a student without a script, they are not ready for your campus. Now, once they connect, what exactly should they be talking about? Number 3, this one is critical. What specifically should they talk about? It's not enough to say you're bringing in someone to talk about mental health. That's like a doctor saying they're going to talk about the body. You need a specialist who can address specific issues hitting your students the hardest. The conversation has to go way beyond general wellness tips like get more sleep and eat your vegetables. While that stuff is important, it can feel insulting to a student in a genuine crisis. A competent speaker must address 3 things: anxiety, depression, and loneliness. The 2024-2025 Healthy Mind Study shows that while we've seen promising decreases in severe depression, which is a very good thing, and suicidal ideation, anxiety remains stubbornly high, affecting 32% of students. And even though they're more digitally connected than ever before, a staggering 52% of students report high levels of loneliness. A great speaker will put these issues in context. They won't just say, "A lot of you are anxious." They'll say something like, "I know you're dealing with academic pressure that feels enormous, financial stress that keeps you up at night, and this pressure to have your whole life figured out when you're still figuring out who you are. And you're doing it all in a post-pandemic world that completely rewrote the rules on how to connect with each other." And the discussion has to be inclusive. The Healthy Mind Study and other data consistently show that students from marginalized communities, including LGBTQ+ students, students of color, and those under financial stress, experience higher rates of mental health challenges. If a speaker's talk is one-size-fits-all, wasn't designed for the real world. Your action item is simple here, but it's not negotiable. Any speaker you hire must include a dedicated slide in their presentation with crisis resources. This needs to include the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, the crisis text line, and most importantly, the direct contact information of your own campus counseling and psychological services, sometimes known as CAPS. This isn't an afterthought, it's a fundamental part of a safe presentation that turns awareness into a pathway to action. But the most critical topic, the one that often scares administrators the most, is suicide. How should a speaker handle that? So number 4, this is the most important question on the list. How will you safely discuss suicide and self-harm? For a campus community that may be grieving a recent loss, and if you are, my heart goes out to you, this is not a theoretical question, it's a matter of life and death. And a speaker's approach must be grounded in proven safety protocols. The first principle is simple: safety above everything else. This means no graphic details. Research on suicide contagion has shown that describing the methods or locations of a death can increase risk for vulnerable individuals. A safe speaker will talk about the pain that leads to suicidal thoughts, but they will never ever describe the act itself in graphic detail. Their language has to be focused on hope, prevention, and recovery. Second, the speaker must avoid simplistic explanations. Suicide is complex. A dangerous speaker might say something like, "He died by suicide because he was bullied." That's not only reductive, it's harmful. A safe speaker will explain that suicide is the result of a complex mix of risk factors and a lack of protective factors. They will explicitly state that it's preventable and that help is available. Third, they have to align with your campus crisis team. If your campus has recently experienced a student suicide, the speaker must be made aware of this, not so they can discuss the specifics, which they should absolutely not do during a presentation, but so they can be empathetic to the room's grief and align their message with your school's official postvention strategy. Their job is to support your healing journey, not conduct their own investigation. Before they ever step on stage, their talking points on this topic should be reviewed and approved by your campus mental health professionals. A green flag is a speaker who proactively asks, has the campus experienced a recent loss? If so, who is my point of contact on the crisis response team so I can make sure my message is supportive and aligned with your protocols? That's a professional, that's a partner. Here's your final safety check. Require the speaker to submit their slides for review by your campus mental health team before the event. You're looking for a dedicated resource slide, the use of safe language like died by suicide, not committed suicide, and a total absence of graphic details or sensationalism. Okay, so you've hired the right person, they've delivered a safe talk. What happens after the keynote? So number 5, the final question to answer is, what happens after the talk is over? Because a single keynote, no matter how powerful, isn't a solution, it's a spark. If you don't have a plan to fan that spark, it's going to burn out fast. The event isn't the end of the conversation, it's the beginning of the conversation. A great speaker gets this. Their talk shouldn't be a standalone event, but a catalyst for ongoing engagement. When you're vetting them, ask, how does your presentation support long-term change? A good answer will have a few components. First, actionable takeaways. Students should leave with more than just a feeling of inspiration. They should leave with a tool or a resource they can use that day. Second, the plan should include follow-up. This could be a Q&A session right after the talk, a smaller workshop the next day, or digital resources sent out to students. The goal is to keep the momentum going. Recently, I worked with one university that scheduled a series of small, faculty-led mental health network discussion groups in the weeks following a keynote. It created a sustained, campus-wide conversation, not just a one-hour event. Third, there has to be a feedback loop. How will you measure the talk's impact? A good speaker won't just be open to this, they'll encourage it. They'll want to know what resonated and what questions came up. That information is invaluable for them to improve and for you to figure out the next steps for your campus. Your practical takeaway is to create a post-keynote action plan before the event even happens. Your plan should outline 3 things. Number 1, how and when you'll distribute follow-up resources. Number 2, how you'll collect feedback, both quantitative and qualitative. And number 3, what the very next touch point in this mental health conversation will be. A speaker is a catalyst, but the institution owns the strategy. So you now have a framework to hire a speaker who protects and empowers your students. So let's wrap up with a question for you. If you could wave a magic wand and have the speaker accomplish one thing for your students, whether it's reducing anxiety, building resilience, or just making them feel safe to talk, what would it be? Drop your answer in the comments below. You might still have questions about how to vet a speaker's safety training or set up that post-keynote follow-up. Before you go, I want to point you to my next video. Find a mental health motivational speaker fast. The internet is flooded with motivational content, and it's easy to get lost. That video breaks down how to find a speaker who actually works for your specific audience, not just a generic crowd. It goes even deeper than this video. I'll put that video on the screen for you now. Click or tap it and I'll see you over there. And if this helped you feel more confident about hiring a mental health speaker for college students, hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss what's next.